However, we're going to define well-being, which is,
Blah, blah.
I say you can start with a couple of
blah,
foundations. You could start with death is preferable to life, but you don't get very far that way.
We're asking you why.
And
Stop suffering.
Well, no, I'm saying you could start with death is preferable to life, but you don't get very far that way because
Yeah, you do. You stop suffering. You just...
This is a good point by Jordan, right? That we can make this point against the atheists. I'm just kidding, the vegans, right? The vegans are always talking about stopping suffering. Okay, well, maybe we should just kill everyone, right? No, we don't believe that. No, we don't believe that. Well, now, wait a minute. Why not? If we want to reduce animal suffering, one easy way is to get rid of all animals. They will no longer suffer. Oh, no. Well, I mean, again, this shows the preference, the false assumption of quantity over quality. Maybe it's better to enact 1 minute of suffering to put the animal to sleep to reduce the possibility of a lifetime of animal suffering. You see, there is no way to know whether there's quality or quantity of suffering that should be reduced. Same way with utilitarianism. On what basis am I supposed to know that the quantity or the quality of the good is preferable? There is no. It's just arbitrary.
Just die.
Yes.
Right, so you can start with the presupposition.
Except that when you're dead, you're not being, so there's no well-being.
Matt, you just contradicted yourself because you said that this is not an issue of intrinsic value. Now you're appealing to intrinsic value and metaphysical. Matt just literally just appealed to being. And he says you can't do metaphysics. And here he is doing metaphysics. I mean, Matt is a car salesman. That's it. Matt's a car salesman. He talks about things a lot. And doesn't know the domains of the things that he's talking about. Right.
Well, that's...
Now the audience is clapping and they don't even notice that Matt just BTFO'd himself in the gibberish that he spilled in the last 20 minutes.
That's not necessarily the
case. If we're looking for the best things about our life, you can't say death is better.
Yes, you can. That's the point, right? Because there is no better or worse. That's the question. What is the standard by which you know the good from the bad, the better from the best, the better from the worst, the preferable from the non-preferable? That's the question. Matt never answers it. He just filibusters, deflects, and circular appeal non sequitur to the grave, right?
Yeah, you can.
Well, I know that you can say it.
People do all the time. They do. No, look.
They can express their preference, but their preference can be wrong. How can it possibly?
Now Matt's appealing to right and wrong. Their preferences can be wrong. So Jordan's saying, well, some people commit suicide. Maybe that's the right way to go. And Matt says, well, some people can be wrong. Maybe they're wrong in what they're doing. Matt, that's the thing in question, dude.
Be better for your...
What is the standard of wrong and better when you just admitted 5 minutes ago that it's subjective?
Life, if you're dead.
Matt, we know you think that it's better to be alive. Jordan is asking you why. And you're saying because it's better to be alive. This is the atheist, never-ending, just is the case appeal. It's the just is. The just is fallacy. That's what we're going to call it. The just is.
What if you, are a terminal burn victim with cancer?
So this is the point that I was getting to. I am perfectly fine with the idea that for certain instances, there may be occasions that death is preferable to an individual over life. But when we're speaking in broader terms, if we're talking about let's create the best society we can, let's create the best...
Matt, what is best? What is the standard of better and best? He says well-being. What is well-being? Well, it's not intrinsic value. What is it?
Quality of life we can for people.
It's subjective, but it's not intrinsic value.
Death is not that across the board. That doesn't...
Why, Matt?
Mean that there aren't individual exceptions. So the foundations that I started with, you can start with death is better.
So again, I think we've had enough. You see that this is the best point of the debate. We've almost 4 hours, and we're going to do the super chats, but really, this is where Matt lost, and Matt doesn't even know he lost. That's the sad point here. And in our debate, it's an even higher level critique that he didn't even know what was going on. Like, no idea what justifying a claim is, no idea what David Hume taught, no idea that David Hume is refuting him. When I said, have you read David Hume? He thought I was appealing to an authority when I was referring to the arguments David Hume makes. All right, so, I mean, Matt is like in another world of, I don't know. But in the end, we will have to give the W here to Dr. Peterson. Now, did Dr. Peterson shine in this debate? No. This was a terrible first half when we had this rabbit trail of LSD junk that had nothing to do with anything remotely relating to an argument. Mere pieces of evidence and anecdotal things that don't relate to proving God. But remember, this is billed as a atheism conversation debate. And yes, eventually Jordan gets the W. But again, it was just kind of like a light pimp slap, and Matt kind of fell over. And Matt more so fell over, not so much from the pimp slap, but like, when he was trying to swing back, like his shoelaces got, tangled up and he fell over on his own, right? So it wasn't even so much Jordan's pimp slap when it could have been a KO. It was more so just kind of knocking Matt off of his balance and then tripping over his shoelaces. Right? That was it. So